Touch your thumb to your pinky and flex your wrist. If a little cord of tendon just pop up in your forearm, that's a good news. You got a muscle your tree climbing ancestors used to swing through branches. If nothing happens, you are missing it entirely, and it has changed your life in no way whatsoever. That muscle is one of the dozens of things in your body that used to matter and now just loiter. Let's take a look at the rest. So there's this word vestigial, and everybody thinks it means useless, but it doesn't. It just means a body part that used to do a job and doesn't really do that job anymore, and that's it. But here's the thing, that doesn't mean it's doing nothing. Some of this leftover stuff is still busy. It's just busy with something else now. Remember that, because a couple of the parts we're going to look at, we thought they were useless for years. Turns out they were not. So that thing you just did with your wrist, that tendon that popped up or didn't, that's a muscle called the Palmaris Longus, and it's a good place to start because it really shows you what leftover actually means. Way back when your ancestors were spending all day up in trees, this muscle helped with grip, hanging, climbing, holding your whole body weight off a branch. You are not really doing much of that anymore, seeing you as you're sitting down, so the muscle just kind of hangs around not doing a whole lot. And a decent chunk of people don't even have it. Depending on where in the world you look, it's missing in something like 1 in 7, and in some places a lot more than that. And in those people, it's totally fine. No weaker grip, no difference you'd ever notice. Surgeons actually kind of like it because when they need a spare bit of tendon to patch up somebody's elbow, they'll just take the Palmaris Longus out and use it, and you go the rest of your life never missing the thing. Okay, goosebumps, for example, you get cold or a song hits you and then your skin goes all bumpy. What's going on under there is a tiny muscle at the base of each hair, and it pulls that hair upright. On a properly furry animal, this actually does something. All the fur stands up, it traps a layer of warm air, and the animal stays warmer. And if something is threatening it, all that fur standing on end makes it look bigger, which is great if you have fur, but you don't. You're mostly a bald ape, so your body runs this whole routine, pulls up a bunch of little hairs that aren't doing much of anything, and the only result is you look a bit like a plucked chicken for a few seconds. Darwin pointed this one out ages ago, back in the 1800s, as an obvious leftover from way hairier ancestors, and for about 100 years everyone was fine, leaving it there as a cute little thing that doesn't really do anything. Then 2020 rolls around and messes up that tidy little story, which I'm honestly glad about it. Some researchers get right up close to that tiny muscle, and it turns out it's been doing a second job the whole time. That muscle is what holds the nerve pressed up against the stem cells that grow new hair. Pull the muscle out and the nerve loses its grip and drifts off. So the same cold that's giving you goosebumps for no good reason is also going over and prodding those stem cells, telling them to grow more hair. The old warm you up job is gone, but the thing went up, found different work, and we only worked that out a few years ago. You know that little bump at the bottom of your spine, your tailbone? That's a tail. Not like a tail, an actual tail, just fused down into a stub. And if you don't believe me, here's the odd part. For a few weeks as an embryo before you were born, you had a real one. And a little tail with the bones and everything. Then your body went back and absorbed it. So you didn't lose your tail. Exactly, you ate it. Well, not literally. Anyway, the stub that's left still anchors some muscles down there, so it's not doing nothing, but the tail part is very much over. Now, look at the inner corner of your eye, that little pink fold by your nose. A lot of animals have a third eyelid, a see-through one that slides sideways across the eye. Birds have it, cats have it, and sharks have it. You got a pink fold, which is all that's left of yours. It doesn't slide anywhere, it's just the leftover bit that never went away. And if you know somebody who can wiggle their ears, that's them flexing muscles that used to point the ears toward the sound, the way a cat swivels its ears at a noise. Yours are still wired up. They just don't turn anything anymore, so the best you can do with them now is a party trick. Okay, now the funny one, the appendix. This is the big one, and it's had a rough 100 years reputation-wise. Is this little dead end tube hanging out of your gut? Doesn't do anything supposedly, every so often it gets infected and tries to kill you, and then somebody cuts it out and you go on living completely fine without it. So for the longest time, this was the go-to example of a useless body part. If you wanted to point at something evolution forgot to throw away, you pointed right there. And then people actually started looking into it, and the story kind of fell apart. So here's what tipped them off, and I like this part because it's basically a detective work. First clue, that little tube is packed with bacteria, and it's the good kind of bacteria, the helpful stuff your gut actually wants. There's even more of it crammed into there than out into the rest of the gut, which is strange for an organ that supposedly does nothing. The second clue came from the animal family tree. One researcher went through more than 500 species of mammals and found that Appendix evolved on its own more than 30 separate times. And once a line gets one, they basically never lose it. Evolution doesn't really bother remaking junk that often, so it's probably not junk. So what's it for? Best idea, we got a safe house. Picture your gut during something really nasty, the kind of illness that empties you out over and over for days. Before modern medicine, that happened a lot, and it would flush out almost all your gut bacteria, the good stuff along with the bad ones. Except for the ones tucked up in that little side pouch out of the way. They wait it out. And once your gut is wiped clean, they crawl back out and rebuild the whole population. The appendix kept a backup copy pretty much. You can even see a hint of it today. People who had theirs removed get certain repeat gut infections at a high rate. It's not a disaster, most people do fine without it, but it's the little fingerprint on an organ that was doing something all along. That's the tour, and the thing to take away isn't really about any of these parts, it's about what leftover actually means. Evolution doesn't go back and clean up after itself. It's not a designer with a plan, it's more like somebody who never throws anything out. Keeping an old harmless part around costs almost nothing, so it just stays. Sometimes even for millions of years, and every now and then one of those parts gets handed a new job, and you don't find out until someone looks really closely enough. You're not some finished, polished thing, you're carrying a whole pile of leftovers. A few of them are still working, and we are still figuring out which ones. Alright, question for you. Out of everything we went through today, the tailbone, the goosebumps, the appendix, all of it, which one caught you off guard the most? And if you actually had your appendix taken out, I really want to hear from you. Drop in the comments and let me know if you noticed anything or not, because I'm curious. And if you had fun poking around your own leftover parts with me, go hit subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.